Hey friends, it's Craig Ballantyne here, author of The Perfect Day Formula, creator of the Perfect Day Formula kit, and owner of Bally the dog. Yes, the most important part. So hey, welcome. We are going to have a really great training session tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to go through what are called the new rules of goal setting. Now, we kind of talk about the new rules of goal setting in the kit, but you've never, ever had this in-depth of a training session before on setting your goals properly. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go really in-depth. We're going to talk about stories, success stories of each of the 4 major areas for goal setting in your life. I'm going to tell you how I made a ton of mistakes with my goal setting when I was about 10 years younger, and then how I got advice from my mentor to totally fix that and really improve myself. So we're going to give a couple of minutes, let everybody get on the session tonight. We have people tuning in from all across the world. We just had a friend visiting from India. A friend came all the way from India for our Turbulence Training Summit on the weekend. So we have this global outreach, and it's really, really great to meet people from all around the world. So please let us know where you're heading in from. If you are in Canada, America, across the pond, down under, we always love to hear from you guys and know exactly what you're looking for. So make sure you ask your questions as well. We want to hear from you. We want to be able to help you. We want to be able to give you everything you need so you set those goals and really, really have a big rest of the year. So it's now the top of the hour and it's time to get started. So I just want to introduce myself again to everybody who's just showing up. My name is Craig Ballantyne, co-owner of Early to Rise, creator of the Perfect Day Formula, so author of this amazing book that has helped over 15,000 people. Plus, we have the Perfect Day Formula kit. This is my life's work in a box. And this is the Perfect Day Formula kit 2.0. This is brand new and it's absolutely amazing. And as I mentioned, I am also the owner of one and only Bally the dog. Now tonight, here's what you are going to learn. You are going to learn the #1 mistake that people make in goal setting. And I am guilty as charged. This was the mistake that totally brought me to my senses and made me get help to create better goals so that I could become more successful. So this goes all the way back to 2007, about a year after my anxiety attacks, when I had some real great success, but I was still struggling. And I had to find out the hard way about this #1 goal setting mistake. You're also going to learn the 4x3 goal setting system. When you have this in place, you're going to march towards your goals faster and faster than ever. So 4x3, that's all you need to know when you're setting up your goals. And then finally, I'm going to talk to you about the new law of attraction. So you've heard me talk about the law of attraction, or action attraction, that is, the law of action attraction, a new version of it. There's something else that I realize is so important, and you've heard me talk about it in the book. I believe it's chapter 21 or 23, where I talk about the law of action attraction in the Perfect Day Formula. You're going to get a brand new version of that tonight. So those 3 things are going to be your major takeaways. #1, goal setting mistake, and you're not going to make it anymore. Plus the 4x3 goal setting system. These are the new rules of goal setting. And then you're going to leave with, a new aha about how you can take that law of action attraction and make it twice, maybe even 3 times as good as it was in the past. So really, really excited to talk to you about this. But first I want to tell you a story, not about me, but about a very famous man in history, a steel magnate named Charles Schwab. Now Charles Schwab, back around the turn of the century, owned a big, large steel factory, and he knew that there was motivation and competition inside his steel workers that could be harnessed for greater productivity. And goal setting, as we'll talk about later on, research has shown that goal setting increases your productivity. And this was 60 years before that research came out, but Charles Schwab was on to something. So here's what happened. He was in his factory one day, and he was with the day shift foreman. And Charles Schwab was talking and asking about the performance of the team, and he said, how many heats of steel did you make? And that's a unit of steel making. And the guy said, we made 6. So Charles Schwab, without saying another word, walked over, took a piece of chalk, he didn't have these erasable markers back then, and he wrote a giant 6 on the floor. Giant 6 on the floor. Why on earth would he do that? A couple hours later, the night shift team came in. They walked in. They must have had their lunch buckets. They were ready to work. And they found this giant number 6 on the floor. And they asked, what the heck does this mean? What does this mean? And then they were told, this is how much the day shift made today. And the night shift, harnessing the power of competition that's inside of us, set a goal. We're going to set a goal of beating this 6. So in the morning, when Charles Schwab walked back in, that 6 was gone. And in its place was a 7. Giant 7. Day shift team found out, and they decided that they would work harder than ever. They would work harder and harder than ever. And you know what? Not only did they cross out the 7, and they didn't put an 8. They didn't put a 9. They put a 10. They put a giant 10 for the night shift team to come back and say, uh-oh, these guys have raised their game. Now we've got a new goal to shoot for. And it was through this method that Charles Schwab, that competition, that goal setting, that motivation that he knows all high performers like you and I have in us, he harnessed that power and was able to increase the productivity of his team. And that's the power and the magic of goal setting. You see what these guys had? They had a bar set for them. But they also had a deadline, right? They had a really powerful deadline. They only had, 8 or 10 or 12 hours or whatever it was to go and make their steal. Because there's a really, really great quote that a goal without a deadline is just a dream. It's a fantasy. We can wake up on New Year's Day and we can say, yeah, I'm going to lose 10 pounds this year. Or I'm going to lose weight this year is probably even the worst thing you can say on New Year's Day. Because there's no specificity and there's no deadline. And without that, you just have this wish, this fantasy, this dream. It's not going to happen. So those are some of the things that you need to have in your goal setting. And this is well known. I'm not telling you anything you don't know yet. But I will be sharing you the new rules of goal setting, the ultimate guide to the new rules of goal setting in our session tonight. Now, first of all, let's talk about the definition of a goal. And really, it is simply the object of a person's ambition. It's the end towards what we're working towards. So think about that. The goal. What is the big goal that you have in your life for your health, for your wealth, for your personal relationships? What is the end that you are working toward? It might be, like I am right now, writing a book. So I just started the process of writing a brand new book today. And I had a call. I'm working with this company called Book in a Box. Yes, Book in a Box. They helped me with my first one. They're going to help me with my next one. And I said, do you think we can get this done by March 12th of 2018? Because I want to have all of these books ready for an event called Fitness Business Summit. And the guy started working backwards. He said, yep, we'll have the book done by Christmas if we go according to schedule. And then you'll have time to put your marketing team into place to make sure that you sell as many books of your new one as you have with the Perfect Day Formula. So that is really, really reassuring to me. There's not a lot of stress on me now. Now I know we've got the timeline in place. We're going to hit that goal. We have specificity. We have a deadline. We have the action steps in place. All part of the new rules of goal setting, which I will share with you tonight. But a goal is simply the end point, that dream destination that we're working towards. It's very similar to having that vision for our life. When we create that vision for our life, we're clear and concise about where we want to end up. And that's the power. Because if you don't know, if you just say, I want to go to the land of success, but you don't know exactly where you want to get to, you're going to take a lot of detours. You're going to waste a lot of time. And here's the other thing. If you say you want to do this, and this, you're going to be all over the place, all over the map. And that's something that you must avoid. So here's the thing. It's not New Year's Day right now. And even if you watch this in the future, it's probably not going to be New Year's Day. There's a 1 in 365 chance, right? And listen, if it's not New Year's Day, it's okay. Because change is a matter of choice not calendar. You can choose to change any single day of your life. You don't have to wait until January. You don't have to, start planning your goals after Christmas. And if you give up on a goal in February, you can still move ahead towards your big goals and dreams by making them any day of the year. That's what matters. You just have to have that clear and concise goal and destination, that endpoint to work towards. So I've mentioned a few mistakes that people make. And I want to go deeper into the three of the most common, but not including the number one mistake that people make. And that first one is not having that deadline. So if you don't have a deadline in your goals, you just have a dream. The second mistake that people make is they don't have enough specificity. They say, I want to get rich. I want to lose weight. That's not enough. You need to know more than that. And you need to combine the specificity with the deadline. Oh, and then you have that roadmap, that straight line to success, that clear path to getting what you want. So powerful. But you also have to make sure that this destination is realistic. Because if it's unrealistic, then it becomes a fantasy. And every day you try and move towards it, you only inch along. And when you only inch along, you lose that motivation and momentum. So you want to make sure that your goal is within reach, it's specific, and has a deadline, and that you can make progress on it every day. And when you do that, you end up at the end of the day saying, I had a victory today. I've got motivation and come back tomorrow. I've got momentum. I can see this dream coming true because that dream has a deadline. So those are the three mistakes I want you to overcome with your goal setting. Now, the next thing I want to share with you is what you've probably heard before when it comes to goal setting. The old way was about creating SMART goals. SMART goals. S-M-A-R-T. And that stands, each one of those letters, that is, stands for one of the aspects that you need to have in your goals. So the first is specificity. We've talked about that. You have to be specific. That's pretty easy if we use a weight loss example, right? Let's say you want to lose 12 pounds in 10 weeks, or 10 pounds in 12 weeks, whichever. It's very specific. And when you know that specificity, you're able to measure it. You're able to measure it. That's the second one. Your goals should be measurable. Because when you're measuring your goals, you can tell whether or not you need to pick up the pace. If you want to make an extra $500 this month, and you know that by going out and maybe having a yard sale or whatever on one weekend will make you $100, and then putting together a little seminar on another weekend will make you $250, but you haven't done anything for the first 17 days, then you know darn well you got to pick up the pace if you want to make that $500 extra by the end of the month. Same with weight loss. If you want to lose those 10 pounds in 12 weeks, and you've only lost 1 pound after 6 weeks, then it's time to get serious, isn't it? Because you're measuring your progress against a specific goal. The next one is making sure it's attainable. Remember, we don't want it to be too unrealistic. Can you lose 75 pounds in 12 weeks? Well, yes, technically. We've had somebody do that in our transformation contests. But I've been running transformation contests for over 10 years now. We've had tens of thousands of people enter, and only one person has done it. So yes, it's technically attainable, but it's not a realistic goal. So we have to make sure that the goal is realistic. And then we have to make sure there's that time element in it. Good. So that's our deadline. That's our specificity. That helps you overcome those 3 goal-setting mistakes that I mentioned. When you have those in place, really move ahead in life. That is still a very, very good way of starting off thinking about your goals. So again, I haven't told you too much new yet, but it's really the system of implementing your action steps that makes it really the new rules of goal achievement as opposed to goal setting.